Hello everyone, I'm Colin Hambrook, editor of Disability Arts Online. I'm an older white man wearing glasses and sitting in a pretty messy home office. Welcome to our 6th artist presentation in our series of online events. Chas de Swiet is a classically trained violinist. He's been playing electric violin in bands over several decades, and he's going to take us on a tour of the violin, his most cherished possession, and show us some of the effects that he uses. In the film, Chas introduces himself sitting in his home office in front of a computer, has to be said, a lot tidier than mine, and he kind of moves around the room a bit, standing up to play and demonstrate the violin. And yeah, we look forward to chatting with Chas after the presentation for a live Q&A session, and we'll see you again then.
Hi, I'm Chas de Swiet, a disabled musician who identifies as being sometimes NICR. That is not in consensus reality. I'm a classically trained violinist and have been playing since I was 4. I was never going to make it as a classical violinist and got into DJing, world music, trance and ambient. I then started playing electric violin in bands including Darwish and Demons in Paradise. I had a long-time collaborator, Purple Pool, who is brilliant, but unfortunately is no longer with us. I've also produced and composed music for film, installations and dance. A highlight was producing music for a Luminarium installation at Liberty Festival. So this is my violin, and is my most cherished possession. I would see it as having a soul of its own. It's French and was made in Miracourt around 1840 by Jules Remy. It's fitted with a fisherman's pickup. My general style of playing violin is using improvisation. I don't often play the same thing twice. This approach I've had for many years, and I think it is kind of about being in the moment and contemplation and meditation. So, this is my Zoom effects box, which is a standard piece of kit and often used by guitarists. The signal is generated by the pickup in the bridge. It goes by the lead to the box and then from the box to the mixer. An effect is simply an additional layer of sound, which in some ways is a manipulation of the original sound from the violin. So what I thought I might do is show one that I prepared earlier. It's a film that I made a few years back that combines meditative shots of water with electric violin. that's one that I preferred earlier. So over to the violin. And just to give you a sense of what it sounds like with no amplification and no effects, so just dry. So that was just straight violin. It was kind of in C major, and as I see it, as a kind of reflection on the English countryside, really. So next up we have some reverb. So this creates a sense of space, and a lot of reverbs are called things like church and cathedral, and I think for a reason. The track when it comes in is Resurrection, which I produced with Purple Pool. So that's reverb. Add some music. Okey coke. So. So following this, we have a pitch shift, which takes the violin down an octave to the cello range. I think it gives it a slightly ominous and slightly dark edge to it. Yeah, so that one has some punch. Next we have a heavy chorus. This almost adds an element of the human voice. I've been in studios and people have thought there's an extra vocalist in the room. The track when it comes in is Jambo Heaven, which I produced with Graham McMahon. So yeah, let me get that one queued up. This is the chorus. Okay, so that is a chorus, and last up we have an echo, which is kind of fun to play with, and you can kind of help and build up layers using an echo. So give me 2 ticks. So, well, that is me, my violin, and some effects. I'm looking forward to your questions, and do get in touch with me later if any of this interests you. Okay, thank you very much.
Cool. Great. Hi, Chas. Thanks for that very thoughtful demonstrations. Some really mesmerizing stuff there. Really enjoyable. It's lovely to see you play again. Actually, it's many years since I've seen you play live. Got quite a few questions come in already, actually. But first off, I was going to ask you about the Luminarium installation that you mentioned in the presentation for Liberty Festival, and just wondered what that involved.
Yeah, well, many thanks for having me as well. It's much appreciated. And first off, apologies for the squeaky tripod and a bit of hiss as well. So apologies for that one. I mean, the Luminarium was an installation at Liberty Festival in the Olympic Park, and it's a bit like a kind of giant bouncy castle for adults. So it's a kind of enclosed plastic structure with kind of arches and all the rest of it. So you can go and hang out, and it's kind of an ambient space, a chill out space. So I did that soundtrack with Purple Pool, and we kind of just produced and composed ambient tracks to take the audience through a journey. So I think there was 5 tracks on that one, and the names went slightly from, I think it was Born 5 to Peace to Blissed Out, and then to track 91, and I can't quite remember we called it track 91, but I'm sure it had some there was some reason to it.
Right. Do you often kind of compose with kind of sound and image together. And actually, there was a question from Deborah Caulfield also, that asking if you have made work for film and television.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose. I mean, I've created soundtracks for films, both myself and others, and also produced sound music for theatre and dance. And I suppose for me, there's something there that the whole is greater than some of the parts when working with sound and music in different contexts. I mean, I think I got hooked kind of way back in '93, and I did the soundtrack to a fringe theatre production of The Rhyme, The Ancient Mariner. And I think, the process kind of continues since then. And I think, it's great to share a creative process with a director or a choreographer or a writer or a filmmaker. And I really enjoy that practice.
Mm. There's another question come in. You said that the violin has its own soul. Could you explain a bit more about this and how this impacts on your role as the violinist? Is the soul of a violin connected to its maker or its player, perhaps?
I don't know. It's kind of getting into a kind of philosophical question, isn't it? Whether inanimate objects can have souls, and I would probably say they can. At one stage, I even had a nickname for my violin, which was Susan. Kind of that one has kind of faded a little bit. But I think, there's just there's a strong heart connection with this object that, I've been playing now for I don't know what it is, 25 years. And then also the energy that the maker has put into the instrument, and there's all the energy of the various people that have, played this instrument over the years. I mean, one of the things I quite like about the violin as well, it's got a little burn on the top, which is where someone's been playing with a cigarette hanging out the corner of their mouth, and the ash has fallen down onto the violin. And that is
part of its character.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think about when you're playing the violin?
If things are going well, then I would be in the moment and listening to what I'm doing and following my own emotional journey and trying to have some kind of connection with whatever the audience is, whether it's in person or a more abstract audience. If things aren't going so well, then I could be thinking about everything from the shopping list to what I haven't done at work to whatever is rolling around inside my brain. Which, in some ways is not a bad thing, and not a bad thing either, because in some ways it's a way also of processing those thought patterns as well. So if there are thoughts that are going around in a loop, then in some ways it is a way of getting those thoughts out as well.
Mm-hmm. I love the Eastern feel of the pitch shift that you demonstrated. It sort of reminded me of kind of the Russian steppes and images of Rasputin. Trish asked, with the pitch shift, are we hearing the native acoustic pitch plus the octave effect, the octave below effect? She's curious to know if you record this, when you record this, does it just pick up the octave below or both octaves? Bit of a technical question there.
Yeah. So, I mean, on that effects box, which is probably one of the reasons why I don't like it so much, is that the mix between the dry sound that's coming from the violin and the effects layer that it's putting on top is predetermined, and it's not one you can actually change. So obviously the dry signal goes into the effects box, and then the signal that comes out of the effects box is a mixture of the dry signal and the wet signal with the effects on. So then if you run that into a computer, then it's kind of preset. So I mean, there's other ways of doing it. So if recording onto computer, can use it, record it dry, for example, with a microphone, and then put on effects using something like a Cubase or Logic, etc.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of makes
Presumably
sense.
that makes it harder to improvise with.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's great. The advantage of using a preset box is, as you say, it's kind of immediate and it's there. But if you're recording it dry and then adding layers of effects through the recording software, then yeah, as you say, it's a bit more in the kind of edit rather than the live feel so much.
Yeah, yeah. Michael Ackman asked where the tunes you play come from. Are they all original improvisations, or are they based on kind of tunes that you know?
They're all kind of patterns that I kind of play with and build up over time. So they tend to be scales or modes or feelings or emotions that I come back to often. So, I think I wouldn't call them compositions, but they're more kind of like improvisational frameworks that I will play within, I suppose. Yeah.
Are you drawn to specific effects in different moods? Kind of, do you kind of assess your kind of how you're feeling and go to an effect accordingly?
Yeah, I think so. But also, if I was doing a gig or a performance or a jam session, I'd probably go through them pretty much in turn, not necessarily, in the same order, but providing that kind of emotional and musical journey, because I think they kind of like feed off each other and they contrast with each other and they take people to different places. So yeah.
Yeah. What appeals to you about the heavy chorus and the echo effects, respectively?
I mean, the heavy chorus, in some ways, as I kind of mentioned in the pre-record, it has elements of the human voice to it, and it has a kind of crying feel as well sometimes. And I have had people turn around to me and say, "Oh, where's this vocalist in the room?" Because if you're in a slightly altered state, then it can almost sound like a person. I think it has to be used sparingly as well. I produced a CD for Creative Roots, and then I listened back to one of the tracks, and it was like, "Ooh, ouch! There's a little bit too much chorus violin in that one." Sometimes when playing, it's difficult to get that sense of perspective of what is actually a kind of balance within the mix. I mean, the echo is quite fun to play with because, again, if you put it quite low in the mix, almost kind of a subliminal hearing thing, it can like add some rhythm below the main elements of the track, and also can be quite kind of disorientating as well because it's got that echo and the rhythm, and it can get kind of slightly trippy as well, I suppose. Yeah.
You talked about being in the moment for contemplation and meditation, and it kind of feels within the music that's kind of what you're working to achieve. Is quite mesmerizing. In the film piece you showed, I love the way that the ripples slow as the music slows in, and I wondered how much of it is you being in the zone, as it were, and how much is it about planning what effects you're going to use to evoke a certain mood?
Generally don't do much planning at all when it comes to music.
Right.
The rest of my life is very structured, but music is much more a kind of improvisational jamming kind of ethos. I mean, the water one was kind of interesting because unlike kind of most music films or music videos, we did it the other way around. So we produced the full cut of the visuals, and then played and recorded and mixed the visuals to the film rather than vice versa. So that piece very much came from shooting the material up in the Yorkshire Dales. And it was just what we were looking for and what we were seeing at the time. So there was all these beautiful slow patterns in the water, which really came through, super close-ups. And then I think, we shot all this footage, and then the natural visual edit was quite slow with very slow transitions between the different shots. And then that kind of led through into the mood of the music. And I mean, that was a case where the violin was recorded dry into Cubase, and the effects were added in Cubase rather than directly live with an effects box.
Mm-hmm. So it was quite kind of improvised, but kind of working to what you'd shot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because as I said, we had the final visual edit, so it's very much then about playing directly to the video. So with the video running in a window in Cubase and then playing directly, so it's in sync.
Mm-hmm. You talked in the at the beginning of your presentation about having experience of being in non-consensual reality, and I wondered how much the music that you evoke kind of relates to those experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first got into the mental health system, and I was psychotic, for want of a better word, or to use a phrase I prefer, which is not in consensuality, there was a lot of chaos in my life. There was a lot of depression in my life, and playing violin was a very immediate way to express myself, feel emotionally into my state, and to express where I was at, and follow it through. So I mean, I think things over the last many years have kind of calmed down, but I still have quite a profound interest in what determines our self-created realities and how to move between different states. So I think the violin has kind of continued to be a tool to aid this exploration and the related emotional states that come with this, with the exploration. And I suppose like the effects unit in some ways just kind of amplifies this process and kind of brings a little bit of technology into the mix as well, which I think is, I think it's a great tool, really.
Yeah. I can relate to that very well. Use my kind of art, my kind of drawing and painting in a similar way to kind of try and evoke those otherworldly states. It's therapeutic, but it's also kind of there's lots to learn, I think, from those states. There's a lot, that it feels like there's something very important about expressing those states of non-consensual realities. Moving on, was wondering what new projects you have on the horizon. You mentioned an unlimited micro commission.
Yeah. So myself and my partner are guardians of a 6.5 acre beautiful wood in Kent. And we got a micro commission from Unlimited to do a live streaming event. So that would be like a mixture of live music, live performance art, projection, fireworks, and also trying to introduce a kind of interactive element to it as well, so people can send us moving image or stills they want to have projected onto the trees. So it's a lot to try and get right in one evening, but it's happening on the 22nd of August in the evening. So if people are interested in accessing that one, then probably easiest just to message me on Facebook. Yeah. So
cool.
really looking forward to that one.
Look forward to that. And how do people get their images to you?
So the way that we're going to run it is via Zoom. So throughout the performance, there will be someone who's kind of hosting Zoom. So people can either send us links that we'll try and play directly off whichever platform and then stream it back, or people can also send us directly still images as well. Mm-hmm. And also, you know, we've also asked for kind of contributions in advance as well. So we've got a kind of a bit of a library of content to show as well.
Cool. I'll send you some images.
Cool. Fingers crossed.
Use or not. That sounds fascinating. Have you done much else during this period of lockdown over the last few months?
I mean, it's been quite a creative time, actually. You know, there's this talk to prepare. There's the Unlimited commission to prepare. We've been down to the wood most weeks to play music in the wood. You know, I started writing a new track, which kind of was great during lockdown because there was loads of time, but life seems to be kind of speeding up again a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you know, there was the idea to do a new website as well, but that one kind of faded away a little bit. But you know, I'm just very thankful, really, that this whole COVID-19 thing has been relatively kind to myself.
Yeah. Well, it's been fantastic hearing your violin, and I look forward to that event on the 22nd of August. Yeah, definitely sign up for that. There's been quite a few kind of complimentary comments that have come through. I think Disability Arts Online audience out there have really enjoyed this, and thanks ever so much, Chas, for doing this presentation for us, and thanks to everybody out there as well for joining us. And it just really remains from me to say that we've got a link to feedback forms on our artist presentations on YouTube and Facebook, and we'd really appreciate our audience's help by filling those in. Tomorrow, Thursday, the 6th of August at 12:15, London-based deaf Japanese artist Chisato Minamimura is presenting a special 24-hour film screening of an extract of her solo digital sign language theatre performance, Scored in Silence, to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the atomic bombings on Japan and the hidden perspectives of deaf people from the handful that survived the horrors of the atomic bomb atrocity in Japan in 1945. And also, following week, on Thursday the 13th of August at 2 p.m, we'll be showcasing Home to Home, a digital artwork by Ivan Riches, reflecting the experiences of 6 disabled artists through lockdown. So please do look out on Disability Arts Online social media for links to both those events. And thanks again, Chas de Swiet. Lovely seeing you. And thanks, and see you again soon.
Thanks, Colin.
Cheers.